Welcome, everyone, to the D1Softball Champ Series preview. In some ways, it feels like it's been the longest week ever here in Oklahoma City, and in other ways, it feels like I can't believe the championship series is already upon us. How do you guys feel? Eric Lopez and Victor Anderson from In the Circle, all the D1 squad here with Jenna Becerra. What about you guys, Eric and Victor?
I can't believe you made it back to your location, undisclosed location, after that thriller with Florida and Oklahoma. I was worried there for a while. Like, is this going to work out with how that game went? A dramatic matchup that Oklahoma, of course, beating Florida to set up the champ series against Texas. But I'm glad you're okay, Jenna. It was a hectic finish there to get to the champ series.
I think I saw that you guys on In the Circle tweeted like free softball in Oklahoma City. The entire day was free, technically, because it was supposed to be an off day, but the if necessary game and the weather forced us to have that game today. But it was, thriller's the right word for Texas' new opponent, which is OU, having faced Florida State today in the semis. I don't even know where we should start because there's so many different things to talk about. But I guess if we quickly just take a look at what the Champ Series is going to look like. So as we go into this series, it is a series. It used to be back in the day, it used to be just a championship game or the double elimination in play, but it is a championship series. It's all wiped clean. And we have the Red River rivalry running through Oklahoma City once again, and the last time for the Big 12 for these two in terms of representation. So game 1 tomorrow, game 2 Thursday, the if necessary on Friday, all of them at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. local time here, Central in Oklahoma City. Really quick, Eric and Victor, I want to get your thoughts on today's matchup and then also maybe a little bit about Texas's path to get to the Champ Series. And then we'll welcome in our first guest.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty remarkable. Of course, Oklahoma literally getting to force, if necessary, getting beat up by Florida in the first matchup to force the, if necessary, Tuesday game. And then that turned into the game of the tournament to this point. Texas, on the other hand, haven't given up a run in the World Series. They've been dominant, beating some school in the West Coast. I'm not going to mention who it is, Jana. But Tegan Cavan was magnificent in the 2 wins, Vic. And Mac Morgan and the run rule against Florida. Texas has been clicking on all cylinders, and they got to watch all day Tuesday, watch this Oklahoma-Florida game unfold.
Well, this is the benefits, Eric, of winning all your games and getting that day off, especially when he learned with Florida's win that they only had to play one game on Monday night. And the fact that they were able to win that game, have their regularly scheduled day off, and see OU and Florida battle it out to see who will play them in the Champ Series, it's going to be a benefit for Texas. And I was following the timelines throughout the game today, how Texas will have to face either likely Kelly Maxwell, who pitched over 130 pitches, or if Rock in Florida somehow advanced. Rock threw for nearly 260 pitches in the 2 games versus OU. Texas is the fresher team. They're the well-rested team. But I think all the pressure is going to be on Texas to win that first game, understanding what OU had to do.
I disagree. Strongly disagree with that.
Really?
Texas ain't the team that's got history to play for here. They're trying to play for a 4-peat. Oklahoma is the pressure's all on them.
But the history, hold on, Texas is playing for history. It'd be the first national championship for that program.
For sure.
There's history on both sides.
For sure.
But I see what you're saying. History for all of college softball on the Division I level.
Absolutely. And I think that pressure was on the seniors of Oklahoma. I mean, you saw Jada Coleman swing at the first pitch. When does she ever do that? Now, she made up for it in the extra innings there to get the walk-off homer. But I disagree. Yeah, I mean, there's pressure on both sides, right? Texas and OU both want to win this championship's national title. Texas will be their first ever. But for Oklahoma, this is it. This is the opportunity. You're 2 wins away now from making it a 4-peat and go down as, this greatest dynasty in the history, not only of softball, but maybe one of the greatest dynasties in college athletics history. That's pressure. Not to mention you're playing in front of a lot of your friends in the stadium. That adds pressure to it. So it's going to be interesting, game 1, what both sides do. I'm not sure Maxwell starts game 1. I can't imagine. I think we might see Nicole May or start game 1 if I had to guess. And then Texas has certainly rich of options. They could go whatever direction they want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting having seen the freshmen in both Florida's Rothrock as well as Kavan for Texas in terms of the path to get there. Florida's so close. But for Texas, Tegan Kavan's ability to two-hit Stanford in 14 innings, shut them out twice throughout this Women's College World Series to get to the championship series, they've kind of been rolling through this thing. Whereas Oklahoma State's been in that other –
Oklahoma, you mean?
Or Oklahoma, sorry. Oklahoma has been, I'm very sleep deprived, if anyone can who's tuning in and who I'm speaking with right now. Oklahoma is actually dealing with some adversity, but it isn't the first time. I know last year they ran through everybody, but it's not the first time that they've lost and had to make their way back. So I think we should keep that in mind. And I think anything can happen in a rivalry.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Rivalry, anything could happen, but we'll see. It's been an interesting World Series for the freshman pitchers, too. Tegan Kavan, Keegan Rothrock. They've been some headliners in this World Series that certainly people won't forget anytime soon.
And I think we could say the same thing about our guest that's about to come up on the screen with us, a headliner in her own right, Kat Osterman. Thank you for joining us, Kat. I mean, you are here in Oklahoma City. I got to see you in person. That was, a highlight for me. But also your USA softball stuff. You have obviously cheering on your Texas Longhorns and even Athletes Unlimited with some cool announcements here. Plus you have your daughter JC with you. Lots of things going on at once for you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been relatively calm until today. So everything else has just been watching games and entertaining the toddler on days off. So today, obviously, a little bit busier with everything going on, the announcement, as you mentioned. And then, now actually, since Texas made the championship series, Longhorn Network will do pregame shows and postgame shows after any victories. So we'll be now working a little bit, too, while we're here.
Gets to work some network, Jenna. She gets to be on TV there. Is Alex with Alex Loeb, I assume? Alex, got to be you and Alex.
Yeah, Alex will be doing it from back in Austin in studio, and I will do it actually live in the somewhere in the Fan Fest area. We're going to figure all that out tomorrow, I believe.
That'll be fun. Fun. Let me Red River, Texas, and Oklahoma. We just did this, Kat. I feel like we just did this script. Now you're the one in OKC. What's your initial reaction now that we finally officially have it? Probably not a surprise, but Texas, Oklahoma for the national championship series here.
Yeah, not surprised at all. I think this is what a lot of people predicted. And I feel like Texas came in and proved that Super Regionals battle tested them and that they were ready for this. And, I think they came ready to play. All three facets of the game have been incredibly strong for them. And so wasn't surprised to see them get through their bracket. And, we all know Oklahoma has been Oklahoma for however many years. They know how to play with their backs against the wall. You can never count them out. And obviously we saw that today in extra innings. So it's going to be a good one. And, anytime there's a rivalry, it just adds something to the mix. So, it's not just for a national championship. There's obviously, the rivalry, bragging rights, whatever you want to say, involved for fans and the programs. They're 2-2 on the year when you look at it. Texas took 2 in the regular season. OU took the 1, and then obviously at the Big 12 tournament. So, it's going to be a good one. I'm really excited, and not having the day off today for OU, in my opinion, maybe kind of throws a wrench in it as opposed to what really originally should have been scheduled.
Right, with Maxwell throwing over 150 pitches. I mean, that's going to be interesting now what Oklahoma decides to do in game 1, whereas Texas has all the options on who they could throw. But I want to ask you about Keegan Rothrock, because you've been in those shoes where you're throwing every pitch. It was old school. Tim Walton's like, we're going with Rothrock no matter what. Can you speak to that performance from young Keegan Rothrock? Because she needs to hold her head high, because what she did, not just here against Oklahoma the last 2 days, but this whole World Series and postseason, carrying Florida to this far within a run of the Champ Series, remarkable for the young freshman. You know what that's like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she did such a tremendous job. And I think at the end of the day, there's no way Tim Walton lets her leave Oklahoma City with her head hanging down whatsoever. For a freshman, not just to get on this stage, but to thrive on this stage. And, yes, she didn't have her best outing against Texas, short hook. But for the most part, she kept them in every game, allowed them to have the leeway to figure out how to scratch some runs, obviously, in the 1-run game against Oklahoma State. But then was able to, just take care of business yesterday. And I think they said during Coleman's at bat, that was the 9th time she had faced Keegan Rothrock in 24 hours. And so, that's hard to do for anybody. 9 at bats, like at some point, you don't have anything left to show that they haven't already seen. So very impressed with the freshman. And I think she'll look at this season and be able to build from it. And Florida's got a bright future with her in the circle for the next 3 years. And, they have Ava Brown. Hopefully they can get her going to where they can have a 1-2 punch in the postseason and they don't have to ride Rothrock like they did this year. But I think she did an incredible job. And if anybody was watching the World Series and you don't think that freshman just left everything on the field here in Oklahoma City, and, if you don't think those performances are impressive, then you're not watching our sport close enough.
I have to ask you about another freshman in the circle too, this time from your alma mater. Tegan Cavan has just been outstanding in the World Series all season long as well too. But I've seen you even talk about her on Twitter and just other things. What do you like most about what you're seeing from her as a player and a person?
I think Tegan she has a great head on her shoulders. She's a tremendous human being. And I say that just from one, interacting with her myself, but then two, she loves my little one over here. And so anytime we're at the field and she can come get some JC love, I watch her interact with her. And it's just, I hope in a couple of years that maybe JC understands what she's watching as Tegan graduates. So that's a little bit ways down the line. And I'm pretty sure if Tegan's parents listen to this, they're like, don't talk about her graduating yet. We're just starting. But she's a tremendous human. And I think with that comes the fact that she's able to understand the situation she's in. And I said for the first time today, I've kind of never really shared it, but at the beginning of the year, she asked if we could have a conversation and wanted to just talk about expectations of being a highly recruited pitcher at Texas going into season. If you have great outings, that when the expectations get higher, how do you deal with it? And, for someone to reach out and ask for that conversation, one, shows maturity, but two, also just shows the mentality that you want in a pitcher to be in the circle. Wants to already know, how am I going to deal with the ups and downs of the season, not waiting till they're in the middle of the ups and downs, asking how to deal with it. And so just from game one, watching her against UCLA, and, she didn't finish the game, but she gave them a great start, tremendous outing, to watching now in the World Series where she just absolutely looks unfazed all the way around. It's so cool to see a freshman, and obviously I'm biased and love that she's in burnt orange, but I think no matter what team she was on, this would be impressive for a freshman. And two shutouts in your first 2 starts here in Oklahoma City is pretty cool, and not something everyone gets to do. I mean, I didn't have a shutout in my first start here in Oklahoma City. I was shaking too much and gave up a 2-run home run. So, it's pretty cool to watch her do that, but just really excited for her in Texas too, as the future goes on. You talk about these freshmen, when they're able to get the experience on this stage moving forward, it's almost like any big game doesn't live up to this. So if you can succeed in this environment, that you can succeed almost in any environment. And so, I honestly think, the role is probably reversed. Supers probably prepared her for this environment, other than instead of, I don't know what we hold at home, 2,000 people, maybe now you have like 13,000. So other than the crowd, it's still an environment that she, I believe, was tested for last weekend.
And you and I have talked a little bit at the stadium and things about how Texas seems to have all the facets that it needs. Like we always talk about with any team, pitching, defense, offense, all has to come together. But there's also that little bit of an it factor as well. Better than anyone, having won at some of the highest levels in our sport. What do you think, does Texas have that it factor, do you think, this season?
I think they do. I think what you see out of Texas, and not that there haven't been Texas teams that were close in the past, but this might be, when you look on the field, the closest Texas team I feel like I've seen in a long time, as far as just how they interact with each other, feed off of each other. You listen to them talk in press conferences, and I think, it's genuine when they say that they're family. And you hear Bella Deaton talk about just how this program has changed her and made her into who she is right now. And to be honest, I feel like they feed off of her. And that's, in my opinion, probably, I honestly have not talked to Coach White and Coach Singleton about their lineup changes here in Oklahoma City. I've kind of left them alone since I'm no longer broadcasting for the rest of the season. But when I saw that she was leading off for game one, I was like, it's because she is the momentum setter. She is the energy setter. And so if she has a strong at bat, I feel like Texas feeds off that. Even if it's not a hit, she just has to have a quality at bat for that to trickle down the lineup. And so I do think they have the it this year. And it's not a big swaggy, like all out there, but there's an it factor that they have within themselves that has, pulled them through in some really big games. And I think it's coming to life here in Oklahoma City, and the freshmen are feeding off of the upperclassmen.
All right, so we can confirm it was not you that was calling Mike White at the presser in the post-game press when his phone went off.
No.
Okay.
Well, in fact, I think I shot my first text to him just a couple minutes ago about something completely different. So, but no, I've just been up in the stands cheering and really letting them do their thing. And I'm enjoying it. I just always say, if we're going to be in the running for a natty, I want to be here to support it.
What has that been like for you, not just to be a fan and an alum there in the stands, but as a mom there with your little one right there? I know there was footage there we caught on D1Softball. What has that been like to share that with the family, this experience?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, obviously she's not going to understand right now what she's doing. She just feels like she's in a sea of, 100 friends that she gets passed around to. She says hi and bye to anybody and everybody that walks around. So, but, being here with her and just knowing, I don't think I would have pictured this situation when I was on the field 18 to 24. I think that's how long I was in school, but I wouldn't have pictured this moment of me coming back, with my young one and being in the stands cheering on Texas. Just not something I ever really thought about. And, unfortunately I don't have my stepdaughter with me this weekend. She's on a trip with a friend, but normally she'd be with me too, because she follows, just because I'm in it. She doesn't play it herself anymore, but she follows Texas. She follows the kids I coach in travel ball. In fact, today she called me as soon as Avery Hodge got a hit for OU, because Hodge played for me with the Texas Bombers. And, she was like, Florida's winning, but Hodge got a hit. And, so it's fun to share it and get to see her even interact with the players when we're around the field. And just, it's fun to see young females have role models now that they can watch more often than just maybe 10, 12 times a year, which is what I felt like we could watch when I was in college. You got lucky if we were on TV more than, 5, 6 times prior to the postseason.
No doubt it is. And so much familiarity. You mentioned Avery Hodge, you know very well. These two teams know each other so well, Kat. Like, I'm not even going to ask you what the keys are, because there's no tricks left here. So what's going to decide this? Because there are no secrets between these two teams.
I really think it's going to come down to pitch execution. It's going to be which side can execute the game plan just a little bit better. I would love to say that, there could be a shutout, but I don't think there can be with these two offenses. I really don't. So I think it's going to be which pitching staff can keep the other off balance and just pitch execution a little bit better. And obviously clean defense has to come into play. Texas has been tremendous with that. But we do know in the past that that's always been a little bit of an Achilles heel, although I think this year they have been so much better with it. So it's really it's gonna go down to the wire, I think. So I don't even want to try to make predictions, because I don't think you can. It's just they're so familiar that it's going to be such an unknown on how it ends up.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at the last Pac-12 game with Stanford and UCLA swept them in the regular season, and then Stanford went to. You never know with these rivalries.
Oh yeah, like I said, I mean, I think that's why Supers was so crazy for Texas as well. It's because that A&M rivalry, that one might be. I don't know. They're both heated. I always think of A&M like most of us grew up with some of the players at A&M, so it's not as heated, but then. It obviously on being there looked way more heated than I would have imagined it to be. Amanda and I were texting after, and I was like, I don't remember it being this heated when we played. Goes, yeah, I don't either. She was like, it was intense, but I don't know about all this. And so, but obviously Texas OU goes way back, and so it'll be fun for sure.
Yeah.
That's probably why. That's probably because they were intimidated by you. They didn't want to like mess with you at all when you were in the circle. Maybe that's why it wasn't as intense.
Well, I think obviously Coach Ford's done a great job and she's gone out recruiting. And I just think there were more of us that actually played together on same travel teams back in the day. And now there's not as many kids from same teams on A&M that are at Texas now like there were in the past. So, but who knows? The longevity of this now that we're back going to the SEC could be back to where there might be some friendliness in that rivalry, but there may not as well. It may just stay as heated as it was.
I love it. Well, and you mentioned earlier too, like being able to bring your young daughter, not your oldest, your stepdaughter, but I have to say, just my last question is around when I got to see you today, which is for the Athletes Unlimited press conference with the absolutely exciting announcement. You and Natasha, by the way, I think might have two of the cutest little ones I've ever seen. JC and Carter are probably the cutest, definitely the cutest softball babies out there right now, first of all.
Thank you.
But the question is actually just the Athletes Unlimited Softball League being announced, having that traditional format that would lead up to the championship series that we have seen. What are you most excited about in terms of those opportunities in the pro softball world?
I'm excited that they're open-minded enough to look at it and say, yes, this is something we can expand into and be able to tie it into the championship series or the championship format. Because I do think the championship format is so original in the way they created it that you don't want to get rid of it. And I understand there are some fans that don't like it and they want the traditional model. So now they're catering to that. But with the idea of this traditional model, starting with 4 teams, so yes, you still may only have 60 athletes, but then expanding to 6, 8, whatever, however many teams they can get in the long run, it allows more athletes to have that opportunity to play pro. And I think when Athletes Unlimited launched, we were all excited about it. It was new, it was different, it was cool. And then you realize, okay, it really is set up for 60. So you can't really expand past 60 and it run the same. So what are you going to do to add more opportunities? And that's where John and Jonathan now look at it and say, okay, we do need to add more. So we're not only catering to 60 women. We can now cater to more than 60 women and give these stars a platform to continue to play on. And especially with, being in 2028 in Los Angeles for the Olympics, like we need these athletes that are in college right now and graduating a platform to continue to play and to be able to hone their skills, continue to develop. The press conference today, Mendoza and I and Tosh all talked about it. Like our prime is 26, 27. And when you don't get to play that long, you don't get to see an athlete in their prime. So many people think, college is it, and it's really not. My best year probably, I think I was 26, 27 maybe, but I think I went like 18-0 in the NPF or something. But I was just absolutely at a different level that if there hadn't been the NPF, I would not have been able to ever see that come to fruition. And so it's really cool that John and Jonathan have decided to go this avenue. And I think in the long run, it'll give us the opportunity to give more female athletes a chance to be playing pro and earn a substantial income doing it. Yes, you may look at the numbers and it's not in the millions, and it's some people, it might not be an entire year's salary, but they're also not playing for an entire year. And so I think we have to look at that sometimes too, is like, what's the window we're playing? And is that good money for that window? And I think I'm just excited that they've come to the table with this and super excited to be part of helping create the culture within it and seeing it get off the ground in 2025. But I just like that John and Jonathan can get creative, but then also see a need for something that's already been done, but let's figure out how to do it better so that way it stays. And, as we all know, that's what this sport needs, is a traditional model that can be consistent over time and just continue on and not be year to year uncertain on whether it's going to continue or not.
Yeah, I love seeing the band back together too. You, Natasha, and Mendoza was so fun. And just the fact that, yeah, right. It's been a while. And the fact that it was at the Hall of Fame Museum too, just so many poetic things about it. But you guys talked about it too. You said, like, where are these athletes we're watching right now in the World Series? Where are they going to be next week? Like, what are those opportunities from here? We're so invested in them now that we want to stay invested in them as we go. But we got some games before AUX and all the other good stuff starts this summer.
We do. We have at least 2, if not 3 more really good games that we're going to have to see how they unfold.
She's got some commentary to get ready for. Kat's got ready to go. Longhorn Network, right? 30 minutes before the games, post games. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so we'll go 30 minutes before the game, and if Texas wins, we'll go as soon as I can get back out to my spot. We'll go 30 minutes post game, and I'm excited because obviously we commentate on LHN and try to be as neutral as we can with those broadcasts, but at least now I'll get to talk all things Texas for the pre and post game show.
Yeah, it's your time to be a little bit of a fan. I know you're working, but this week it's been cool to see you back in the burnt orange for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I think anytime, and Jenna, like you put your heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into a program, it's fun to be around it as much as you can. And obviously I know you call Stanford games too. So you have to like be unbiased and like silently cheer in the broadcast booth without that coming through your microphone. I don't know how many times you mute your microphone while you're like screaming yes.
Absolutely. A lot of silent, gestures.
Yeah, I've done it a few times where I'm like, yeah, man, that was a great hit. But it's obviously fun. But yeah, it's been nice the first 3 games here to just be able to kick back and enjoy it and watch them all do their thing.
Well, that's awesome. And we're excited to see you on Longhorn Network this Champ Series and to see you. I'm excited to see you in person. I know Eric's excited to see you at least virtually right now.
Rub it in, Jenna. Rub it in. One of these days,
Sorry.
me and Kat will be in the same place. We'll figure it out at some point.
It's okay. It took Eric and I a long time to meet in person as well, Kat. So it's okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have at least met Eric in person.
We have.
That's true. That's true.
I did meet Jenna this time for the first time after like three different Zooms or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that we made it happen. Well, thank you, Kat. I mean, good luck the rest of the way too. I will see you out there, and I know Eric will be tuning in to hear you as well.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, Kat.
She's awesome.
She is. She's the best. She's the best. She's an amazing, first of all, person in general.
Yes.
Very giving and an amazing person to have as a representative of the sport. Great ambassador of the sport.
And, she's intimidating in the circle. I was talking to, other former pro players who played against her where, when you see Kat and she's like this with her straight face about to just destroy you and carve you up at the plate. But to your point, as a person, just so wonderful and welcoming and warm and just really genuine about wanting to grow the sport.
And a great analyst too. So I'm looking forward to seeing her on Longhorn Network there. I'm happy. I didn't realize you two had not met in person until this week. That's awesome.
We hadn't. I know. We first started chatting like 4 years ago too. So that was, I
big
felt
year
like
for you, Jen. It's everybody's meeting you this year.
It is. Met you in Clearwater. That was like one of the first tournaments of the year. And then, bookending it here, meeting people like her. So it's been great.
That's awesome.
As will the Champ Series be. I think we have the full bracket too. If we want to just take a look at that, obviously we went through what the Champ Series will look like, but let's not forget where these teams have also been, right? Like there were 8 teams to start this thing off. I don't think did anyone have Oklahoma State going 2-0 on their bingo card this time around? Because I did not have Oklahoma State doing that. After everything that they did in the regular season, taking the series from both Texas and OU, who are now in the Champ Series, that speaks to the caliber, I think, of the teams here. Duke, their first ever time being here on this stage. And even though they've only existed 7 years, and then UCLA, Stanford with that Pac-12 piece that you add into it. And then, of course, Florida and Alabama. And we had that SEC showdown and then Florida's fight that they gave today. So it was a long path. The Texas has been, the quote unquote easiest in terms of they kept winning. But it's taken a lot for both of these teams to get to this point.
It really has. I mean, Texas, their journey for Texas, going back to the super regional, Kat, we were talking with Kat about that A&M series, amazing super regional. They were down 5-1 in the 6th inning. It looked like dead to rights. And they were able to find a way and win that game in extra innings. Then they draw Stanford with the best pitcher in the planet, the National Player of the Year, Najee Kennedy, and they find a way to beat her not once but twice with Tegan Cavan holding Stanford to 1 hit in each game. They run rule Florida. I mean, it's been an amazing track for Texas. And then Oklahoma, they got certainly it looked like they got tested by UCLA in that winner's bracket game. Jari Jennings with the solo homer to make it a 1-0 win. Maxwell's best start as a Sooner. and then getting pushed to the limit by Florida. I mean, pushed to the limit. I mean, Florida smacked them around on Monday to force this if necessary game, and then jumped on them again today. Jenna, they looked for a while like we may not get Oklahoma in the Champ Series, but they were able to find a way. And Kelly Maxwell kind of made some adjustments in the last 4 innings. I thought Florida maybe got away from their plan on Maxwell, but Ella Parker, the freshmen, Ella Parker and Cassidy Pickering, I think went 5 for 7 in this game that got them through. We talk all about the seniors, but Pickering and Parker helped. I don't think they get through Florida without those two. So both teams have faced adversity, Texas and OU, and have gotten past it. And I do think it sets up for a titanic matchup. Can I brag, by the way, that I predicted this matchup back in March? I just want to say that me and Alex Powers, my shout out to Alex Powers, my analyst on the UCF game, we both said when we saw Texas in person, I think this could be a Texas OU series this year.
Yeah, but let the record also show in our season preview show that Eric had OU versus Georgia in this national championship series.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
I had OU Stanford.
Okay, so okay.
Which I wasn't far off.
Which is closer, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, you were a lot closer to Justin than I were. So
I will give a shout out to our D1 colleague too, Shelly Carlin. She did say that Texas was going to beat OU during the regular season, which they did, and then now they've made their way all the way to the Champ Series. So I will give her credit for that too.
I was back in Clearwater too when she.
It was. I was
there. Yep. Yeah. That's she knows what she's talking about a little bit. I'm glad you about it. I'm happy to see that you and her are getting along. I was worried after that last Pac-12 game between Stanford and UCLA.
You know, it was a bit rough going there in the press box. We may or may not have filmed some of our reactions during certain things during the game. But no, it was a good one. I think we were both excited to be at least there for the final Pac-12 matchup, but plenty more to come as well as we look forward to this Champ Series.
It is. We had the last Pac-12. We're going to have Texas and OU battle in the last Big 12 game for the two teams as Big 12 members. That's kind of unique to say. History will be on the line. It will be either Oklahoma goes for the 4th straight national title. It's never been done before in softball. Never been done before, really, in most divisions.
I had to correct you, sir. As your producer and co-host, it has been done once ever before in softball history. Oklahoma City did it 4 straight years in the NAIA in the early 90s. So there'll be the second school.
I said D1.
Oh, you said a history of softball.
I said D1.
People in the comments, review the tape later on.
Specifically in D1.
Yes. Thank you, Jenna, for the plug.
We'll clarify. Yeah.
That's the plug. But either we're going to have that or Texas is going to win their first ever national title in school history in softball.
Yep,
so either way, we're going to see history here. Historic that you get to cover in person, Jenna, which I know you've had a blast in person doing it.
I have. It's been so fun being here, other than, the humidity like we talked about in the preview. But no, actually, it's just been, I mean, what else do you want to do? I'd be glued to my TV anyway if I weren't here, right? So it's like, might as well be here in person and experience everything. And hopefully, it's been fun with Paige Halstead and myself to give a sense of what it's like to actually be here on site to an Oklahoma City for everyone, because there's nothing quite like it.
What's been the atmosphere like? We've getting a lot of videos of the shots there. You've been in the stands. What has it been like all week? And I would imagine it's only going to amplify with the prime time here with OU Texas.
Yeah, I think actually our words to describe it, when we went through and we each gave a word to describe what Oklahoma City is like before the World Series started, were pretty accurate. What was it? It was electric. It was magical. And I think I said eruption. And we have seen all of those things and felt all of those things from the crowd. There's just nothing quite like a crowd when you're competing. And that can work to your advantage. It can be intimidating if you let it be, but I think just the support and how many people care, the amount of attendance records per session that they've already made once again this year has been just outstanding. And the amount of people that you see come back, whether they're alums, broadcasters, whatever tie they have to the game, people show up, and it's just a really fun place to reunite or meet people in person for the first time, if you're like myself. But I think it's only going to get better. I mean, only 1 game a day from here on out versus 4 on the first day. But all eyes are going to be on this rivalry.
It is, and let's bring in a guest who knows a little thing or two about Texas and Oklahoma. He's coached against both of them. A guy I met 5 years ago. You talk about meeting. I met him 5 years ago. He's been to the World Series before. He's been to a lot of big events. I speak of Iowa State head coach Jamie Pinkerton joining us now here. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Very good. I thought you were going to go with the Chiefs gear, not the Royals.
No,
the Royals
man.
are having a good year. You're pumping the Royals. Good year.
Yeah, it's a baseball season, coming off doing lawn work and getting a little golf in. So Royals are playing the Guardians here in a few minutes, so I'm going to tune in. So the Royals, the boys are playing ball as they have T-shirts going around Kauffman Stadium right now. So been doing a little bit of that and getting a little relax. Well, not a lot of relaxation with all the portal things that are going on.
Well, there's a lot of stuff. We got some World Series games to talk about, though, and that's why we wanted to have you on, because Texas and Oklahoma too well, facing them in the Big 12 here. It's an all Big 12 champ series. First, what's your reaction to Texas and Oklahoma and how they've gotten here?
I'm well, obviously for the conference, really excited. I think I heard as I was backstage here, this is kind of a cool app, hearing you say that you called it in March. I obviously, as being in the Big 12, we were hoping that we would have a situation where, like a couple of years ago, OU, Texas, and OSU finishing it, in the top four. It's great for the conference, and it's not unexpected, I would say, but the road to Oklahoma City's tough. There's upsets, and then you get into the tournament as we saw yesterday. It's not really the route that OU had planned to take, but I tip the hat to Tim Walton and his team. They played really well and pushed it to the max. And I think at the end of the day, I think the experience and of Oklahoma and them being there kind of gave them a little bit of an edge.
No doubt. So you face both teams. So I want to ask you, and Victor, obviously we got a cool thing. We're going to be working with Coach Pink this week during the Champ Series, aren't we? We go ahead, Vic, and kind of let the audience what we got in store this week.
For those of you fans who are watching us on D1Softball, you can watch us on our Inner Circle YouTube channel after every game of the Champ Series. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, and of course, if it gets to 3, that some of us maybe think will happen, Coach Pinkerton will be joining us to give his thoughts, and we'll take your questions. And it's going to be a fun time had by all. But, Coach, just with Oklahoma, we haven't seen the Sooners be tested as much in this run as we've seen them tested this year. How do you assess the Sooners in terms of going through the rigors of the Big 12 and how it prepares them for playing these tough games that they had to deal with in Florida in the last 2 days?
Well, I think that showed a little bit this evening on the comeback. They stayed calm, cool, and collected. They've been there and done that. I think Coach Gasso said a very good thing is that they needed to get away from watching the scoreboard because the game can get quick and get to you. And I thought that was kind of that. What was happening? I think they settled in. Obviously she probably relayed that to her team, but what she told the public on ESPN that they just needed to quit scoreboard watching and just play ball and let the game come to them, in lack of better terms. But I just think one of the advantages they have obviously is going to be the experience. I mean, when you go around the diamond, there's a lot of World Series experience. There's a lot of championship experience in that lineup. There's a lot of national championships in that lineup. And I think if they just stay within themselves and play what they're capable of playing, I see personally, I know you're probably going to get to this, I see this being a thrilling 3-game series. I don't think, no one being softball, even a softball coach watching, and no one wants the season to end. And I fully expect that it'll go 3 games.
What do you make of the fact Texas got a day off because they took care of Stanford on Monday night with the shutout? Oklahoma had to play today. Maxwell pitched, threw a lot, I think about over 150 pitches. How do you think that it makes an impact, if at all, in this champ series starting game 1 on Wednesday?
I think it's a key to the series. I think Texas is a fresh staff. Kavan through 2 games, Mac Morgan, and then you still have the pitchers Gutierrez and Simpson and Check still fresh. That I haven't caught every game. Obviously I got a granddaughter, but I think the Texas staff is fresh. OU staff is fresh, but I think you hit a key point, Maxwell, between today and the game yesterday. I think she's probably thrown over 300 pitches. And, obviously, get her in a recovery room, get her ready to go and everything. I think that's just going to be key is which staff is going to complement and do the best job when it comes, to crunch time. I think right now, if you were asking me, the Texas staff, both staffs are fresh, but I think Coach White's got more ammo in the gun right now with rest, and obviously someone's going to have to step up behind Maxwell, and maybe if it's a 1-3, game 1 starting to game 3 starting to get to 3 games, then and I think Kelly's experience will come through. Hey, all of these pitchers on both staffs are very good. It's just how are they going to game plan and how are they going to use them?
Well, Patty
And on that point, Coach,
well, let me just, I get the question, but, Patty Gasso, it's funny you bring up the pitching who steps up. Patty Gasso was asked yesterday after the loss, because she went with Nicole May to start the game, even though Maxwell had pitched the gem against UCLA the previous game. Why did you go with May? And she said, the staff. We need it. We're a staff, and we're going to need all of them. I think you just mentioned that. That's why she started her, while people might be second-guessing on the outside. She said, we need more than Maxwell to get to win this whole thing.
And Dill and May and Keeney and you go on down, they're all capable. But down the stretch, though, if you look at the staffs and the staff and the walks that they struggle with control issues down the stretch, Coach Roach will get that straightened out. But Maxwell's going to need help. If she's the only one that can get them through some innings, it's going to be a tough road. Not saying Texas is going to win. It's just going to put a lot of high stress and high leverage situations on Kelly. And when we know with her experience, she's more than capable of doing it. But I just think right now it seems like Gutierrez has the lowest DRA, and we faced her, Morgan, and Kavan this year, and any of the 3 are capable of throwing 1, 2, and 3. And I just think right now that staff's a little more rested and a little probably a little more in sync right now, for lack of a better term.
And kind of to that point, Coach, with Texas being the more rested team to Oklahoma, how important will it be for Texas to win game 1 tomorrow night and put the pressure on Oklahoma in game 2 on Thursday if Texas can take care of business in that first game of the Champ Series tomorrow night? Oh,
I think it's key. I mean, just like we stressed to our team, when you're playing in a Big 12 series, game 1's key. And, usually there's a good percentage. I don't have numbers on it. I'm an analytics guy, but I've never really looked at who wins game 1. I know ESPN probably has that in the series, but over the course of the season, whoever wins game 1 has probably more than 50 to 60% chance of winning the series. I think Texas, touching to Coach White, and I'm on the opposite end. Of course, I'm also an Oklahoman. Did not grow up a Sooner fan, so or for that matter, really not even an Oklahoma State fan. I'm a University of Tulsa graduate, as a lot of people know. But I think what Texas has got to do is get off to fast starts in game 1, game 2, and if there's a game 3, I think it's going to be key, because you could hear it on the TV. I've had tickets behind home plate for 30 years there, and when Oklahoma's there, if you get that crowd into it, it can be tough. And Coach White's touched upon that. And I'm not a fan of it leaving OKC. I think that's our equivalent of Omaha, and I like it where it's at. But I think it's going to be key that they get off to fast starts and keep the crowd out of the game. And if they can do that, that'll be one of the keys to Texas winning the series. Just do not let the fans get into it. Do not let Sooner Magic come into play. And Sooner Magic happened again today. I mean, that's what they do. They're capable. They're calm, cool, collected, and did what they had to do to win the game today.
They did. Give me a key player on each team that it's under the radar, because you face both teams. Everybody knows the Reese Atwoods and the Tiare Jennings and the Joe Coleman, but there's the unsung players that make this teams complete. I've talked to both head coaches about it. That makes them complete. Who's a couple key players that you're like, hey, don't be surprised if this player becomes an unsung hero and helps decide this champ series for both sides?
Man, that's a great question. I think the freshmen are going to be key. On both sides.
Yeah. Parker and Pickering were today.
They were today. But the unsung hero today, and I really like this player, is Avery Hodge.
Yes,
She's the one that got it started. Stepped in after Torres got hurt yesterday. So she was an unsung hero today. But I think the freshmen are going to be key on both sides. They could be unsung heroes. Stewart. You just mentioned the two OU players. They've had key years, and Kavan being a freshman, and then Henry and Stewart. I think Stewart's probably more well known, but I think if you throw out if Torres is not allowed to come back, I think Hodge is going to be the one that's got to be key, holding down the middle infield spot, and that's going to be important because Texas bunts a lot, has a lot of speed, and Hodge can cover that. So I think that if Torres doesn't come back, that could be key for OU. And then Henry. Henry can create a lot of things. She's definitely she can lay it down and get on base, and she can hit it out of the park. Stewart, Pickering, and Parker out of the freshmen are probably more known commodities, but I think those players could be key players in it because, like OU, they have all of their returners that's been there. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think probably 4 or 5 were on the roster when Texas made the championship series. You think of Washington, you think of Mia Scott, Bella Dayton, probably Simpson and Check. So that's 5 that I can think of that was in the championship series. I think the veterans are going to have to play like veterans, and then let the younger ones be the intangibles. And I think both of them got to play clean defense. You can't give extra outs, and you can't put pitchers in high leverage situations, and especially OU with the amount of traffic and mileage that Maxwell has had probably during the regionals, super regionals and stuff. So anything that you can do to keep the pitch counts down, avoiding walks and keeping pitch counts down in high leverage situations. And there was a lot of high leverage situations over the last couple of days for OU.
Of course, these two teams are going to play for the 5th time and then a 6th time, maybe a 7th, because these two know each other so well. I got to see them in the Big 12 tournament final, OU Texas. So there's no secrets here with either team. So what is it just going to come down to execution? When you got two teams that know each other so well?
Yeah, and over the course of the year, if you watch in the big picture, OU and Texas have both played really and been almost unbeatable when they play good defense. I've seen in some games both teams make some. And I'm not being critical. I'm a coach, and our team has made mistakes either. I don't need any death threats on emails like I used to get on the selection committee. Not death threats, but people that are being. I think whatever team makes the routine play, the great plays will come. There's athletes in abundance in the outfields and in the infields. I think the team that plays the cleanest, well, just like the key mistake that the young Kern made for Stanford. The routine play is going to be key. If you make those, the spectacular play come, then you stay out of the high leverage situations. I just think you got to be clean and not give free base runners and make the routine play and, make good, solid softball IQ decisions. And whichever one makes more and less of the latter, the mistakes, I think it's going to have an edge in the series.
No, it is. It's going to be – I can't wait. I cannot wait for this matchup, Victor. I cannot wait. Texas and OU. And I can't wait, Coach. You're going to be offering us some analysis like you are here. This is just a sample size. we're going to be giving it credit. We'll be a little late night after the game, but we're all going to be wired up after each game there.
Well, as old as I'm getting, Eric, I hope I'm still awake.
Vic's got the same deal. I got to wake both of you up. That's
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I got to go down and I'm in Ames today. I had to get some things done. I'm gonna be in Oklahoma. I might slip in for a game. I haven't sold those tickets yet, so
probably smart.
But I might show up down there. But I got to go down and help my mom out with some things. So
that's good.
I'm gonna head from Ames to Tulsa tomorrow. So we'll be down there in time. I'll have to probably find a place where I can get set up, but we'll I'm happy to help, and what you guys do for the sport and offer any insights, whether people agree with it or not. It's kind of cool to see what goes on behind the scenes once as a committee member, and even as the Big 12, just the behind the scenes stuff and the preparation that goes into the games. This is the best time of these young women's lives.
Very good. That is head coach Jamie Pinkerton. Will join us throughout the Champ Series on In the Circle. But in the meantime, Coach, we'll let you go. Thanks for joining us here. Appreciate your analysis. Look forward to more of your analysis during the week, Coach.
Sounds good. I got to give Phil McSpadden a shout out. Good friend of mine. I have to jump in on Victor's bandwagon on that one. But
wow, there you go. Fair enough.
All right. Well, what kind of hat do I need to wear tomorrow?
Whatever hat you want, Coach.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
Correct.
We'll see you guys. Looking forward to it. I hope I can provide some insight and not botch this job up.
No, you'll be fine, Coach.
You'll be fine.
If I don't leave, we'll treat you well, Coach. Take it easy, Coach.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
All right, that's Jamie Pinkerton joining us here on the show. He's a character, Jenna.
He is.
That's what it's going to be like on the late night shows. We've had him on every year. I mean, I didn't even bring up the words Kansas City Chiefs, because otherwise we'll never be off the air. So
No.
I did us all a favor.
Huge Chiefs fan.
You're talking to somebody who's used to the Pac-12 After Dark situation after all these years. So the In the Circle After Dark vibes, I feel like we're bringing it into this Champ Series preview here with D1Softball. So I'm here for it.
And for those who were not with us earlier, we are going After Dark once again. So 11 o'clock Eastern time, every game after the final.
Maybe. Depending, unless the game's still going on. That may be later.
It might be a little bit different. Follow our socials for all the details. We'll be live 11 o'clock Eastern time, 10 p.m. Central time, Wednesday, Thursday, and if necessary, Friday night to recap everything that we saw in Oklahoma City, get Coach Pinkerton's thoughts and analysis, answer your questions, and, well, have all sorts of fun and craziness because, well, when it's in the circle after the door, crazy things seem to happen. So if y'all been with us throughout the postseason, y'all already knew that already.
That's correct. And we'll also have a regular In the Circle podcast, hopefully
yes,
Wednesday morning, scheduled to have UCF head coach Cindy Ball Malone offer her analysis because she knows a thing or two about Texas and Oklahoma as well. That fellow Californian, Jenna, as you know.
Not just Californian, she's fellow 805er from Ventura County as well. Right. And
we got the 805 on lock here, D1. We got Coach Bear coming on the podcast, yourself, Amanda Lorenz. I'm sure the Lorenz household is going to be just already stressful with what happened in Florida.
Oh, gosh.
But now you combine that with Florida and Clemson playing in the Supers on the baseball side, which, by the way, go to D1Baseball.com for all the latest recaps and previews of the Super Regionals going on as they get on their road to Omaha.
And I've been chatting with Amanda a little bit throughout this whole thing, and her response by me being like, "How are you doing?" essentially is, "I am unwell." That has kind of been her baseline because, as you know, Florida's path throughout the Women's College World Series, but then Clemson baseball did just win the regional. You mentioned it, Victor, what's coming up with baseball. Her husband works for Clemson baseball, so she is all in. She's like, I may need to go on like some medication to like handle my high blood pressure because it has been rough. But
that's a double life if I ever heard of one right there.
I am unwell.
Orange, at least there's orange being,
Yes.
the common thread.
Yes.
At least there's
Orange,
something.
Yeah. Please send thoughts and prayers to Manny Softball on the household this weekend.
Well, she's going to be she's a proud alum though. What an incredible
Yes.
performance by Florida. And Keegan Rothrock, again, amazing courage and guts for that freshman.
Yes.
The future is bright in Gainesville.
Yes.
Trust me, they will be back in this. I think they're ahead of schedule. I didn't expect them to get this far, to the point where they're one win away from playing for the national championship. Trust me, they're going to be probably in the mix next year. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself for next year, but they're going to be easily a top 5 preseason team next year.
Yeah, and they were at the bottom of the polls at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if they were in every single poll.
Right.
And they just worked their way. Obviously, they're top 4 in the country, right? So
0 innings returning from last year, basically going with Rothrock and Ava Brown as their main 2 pitchers. Rothrock throughout the postseason. A lot of youth in that infield, too. They're kind of like Stanford a little bit. I think people forget. I think people forgot, Jenna, how young Stanford is this year. I think people assume, well, they were there last year. They got all these veterans. They have some good veterans, but they also have a lot of youth, just Callister. So I think Stanford and Florida, being both Final Four teams, I could see them back here again a year from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest piece for Stanford, the biggest shoes they'll have to fill is Ali Kaneshiro behind the plate, especially managing the entire staff, let alone, Kennedy and everything that she did throughout this run. But yes, youth. It's been an interesting blend, in my opinion, with a lot of these top teams. A lot of fantastic seniors and a lot of young talent. It's been very sort of top heavy, but also plenty of folks on the bottom in terms of tenure who seem very, very promising. So I do think it's always sad, right? When you see some of the greats, like Amaya Brady's career's over, Charlize Palacios, you see those careers come to an end and you're like, oh man, who's going to fill those shoes? But then you have all this new talent that comes in and somehow it still goes. The cycle still continues.
And you saw that today with Skylar Wallace, her phenomenal career coming to an end with Florida. But Florida, Tim Walton will find a way like he always does. Dev Texas and Tim Walton finding his way to Oklahoma City.
Well, let's not. We were giving out shout outs to the area code in California. I don't know which area code Francesca Anea is from, but shout out to her in her first year as an assistant. You could see the impact. We had Laura Trout on our Sunday night show. She talked about she could see the impact she's made on the Florida team on offense, how well they hit the rise ball, because Fran was a great rise ball hitter. And just when I asked Skylar Wallace and the players in the super regionals about the impact, just having someone that's been there, worn that uniform, can relate to what those players go through. And Skylar was very upfront about it, having a female voice on that coaching staff. Her and Chelsea have made a big impact to the Gators. I know you and Amanda talked to the entire coaching staff. Chelsea Dobbins, I always call her Barkley because I've known her for over a decade. That's because I'm old. But she's done a great job handling that young pitching staff for Florida. So salute to all of them. They've made, to me, today was the game of the tournament to this point. It's been a nice tournament, but this game is the one that's going to jump out when you think back to the 2024 Women's College World Series, depending on what happens here with the Champ Series.
And just for the record, I believe her area code is 818, which is right next to the 805. I'm right near the border, so it counts. We're good. We're on the same page there.
I knew you would know. That's why I defer to you on the area code, zip code knowledge on California there.
Yeah, I do. While we're giving some shout outs, this is a good point, and I do want to make this in the Big 12, just overall shout out this year to that conference. 2 in the finals, 3 in the World Series, 3 in the top 5 pretty consistently throughout the season in terms of rankings. Obviously, the realignment will change that, Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, but we talked about, the SEC showdown in the World Series, the final Pac-12 matchup, the Big 12 matchup that we are about to see, especially in the Champ Series, is definitely top tier as well.
Well, I think about the fact, just seemed like yesterday, but it was a few weeks ago. I was in the one in Oklahoma City covering the Big 12 tournament. You were at the Pac-12. We were doing live shows from Oklahoma City. And we talked about what happened. The Champ Series matchup, the Big 12 title it was Oklahoma, Texas.
Yep.
And the setup. And here we are a few weeks later, and that's the matchup deal. So it's been an interesting journey. Great year for the Big 12 in many ways.
And now, and let's not forget, Eric, Baylor forcing Florida to a game 3 in Gainesville and putting the Gators on the brink in Gainesville.
literally one swing away, you could have had half the World Series field be from the Big 12. So a strong, once again, year for the Big 12, very underrated league. And I think they'll still be strong with Arizona, Arizona State, Utah coming in next year to the Big 12. Stanford, ACC favorites. I'm going to get used to saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
UCLA, Big Ten favorites. Not
Yeah.
get used to say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. From the Pacific to the Atlantic, coast to coast softball. Yeah.
Learn new zip codes, Jen. You're going to learn some new zip codes next year. We are going to learn new zip codes next year.
We all got to. You're right. Got to get better at calculating the time zones as well.
Yes. I'm not looking forward to that at all.
Well, we got a champ series to worry about. Give me your final thoughts here, Jen. I'm curious. You've seen them both up close this week. What's your gut telling you here? I mean, are we going to have 3 games, 2 games, and then what? We had Coach Pinkerton on, and we had Kat Osterman. Obviously, great analysis there. But
yeah,
these two teams know each other inside out. At the end of the day, these were the 2 best teams of the whole year.
Yeah, I mean, pretty consistently, right? And then they end up number 1, number 2 seed, and people could have argued for that to be flipped either way, but it was Texas 1, Oklahoma 2. I think from seeing in person live and just watching the games, right? But obviously being here on site and kind of seeing the way that the teams are carrying themselves as well, in addition to just, what's going on between the white lines. Texas is in the zone right now. They're in the zone right now. I had previously, I think, in my bracket, when I filled out for my bracket challenge with D1Softball, I think I had OU 4-peating initially. But the way that they're playing right now with the Longhorns, I think makes a difference. And I think it's going to be scary. I do think I can easily see 3 games. I don't, with a rivalry like this, I would be surprised for it to feel easy for either side, whoever ends up on the top. I just think there's too much history. They've seen each other too much, like you both have said. And there's just an emotional layer to it. And Kat had said to me in person too earlier when we were chatting, like, if Texas plays softball, if they just play softball versus playing OU, they will be in a good place. And that has to do with the mental side, with the emotional side, right? They've been doing a nice job of that so far, playing Stanford multiple times too, this season as well. So can they extend that to the biggest rivalry that they have? But I really do think they're in the zone.
Well, to piggyback on that, Mike White, I asked him about that last night in the presser. And remember, they were here 2 years ago, but they were the first time there against a buzzsaw in Oklahoma. And he admitted they have experienced players that have now been on this stage, those veterans. And I think that's what they're going to lean on. I think they're much more prepared for this. This is a much, much more talented team than that Texas team in 22, with respect to Haley Docini and company in 22 and Janae Jefferson. This is a much deeper team. And we saw this, Jen, unfortunately, you got to see this, Texas beating Stanford with their legs on the base pads. They won that game Monday night with their base pads. Washington, people obviously will remember scoring, touching home plate on the rundown. I'm going to remember her going to third base on the base hit, taking that extra base, which set up her to score a run, because the way Kennedy was throwing, you weren't going to get multiple hits off of her. That's how you're going to have to score. And that's Texas. And what makes these 2 teams so great, they can beat you in multiple ways. If they can beat you in an 8-6 game, and also go a 2-1 game. That's what makes these 2. They're very diverse. Texas has made up ground to OU. We'll see how much of it can put them over the top or not. But I think I agree. I'd be bummed if it doesn't go 3. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for 3.
To your point on OU too, Kinsey Hansen said it in the post-game press conference. She was like, the Sooners play the best after they've been punched in the mouth. She was like, that's what I've learned this season. They were punched in the mouth game 1 against Florida. They're still punched in the mouth a little bit in game 2. Also, it was just barely at the end, 1 pitch, 1 swing making the difference. So again, that it's like that emotional layer to it, and how I think the mental game is what has separated Oklahoma, and the fact that they've had to ride at number 1 for so long, even though they haven't been for a while now in the rankings. It has been Texas. Like, that takes, you have to be cut a little bit differently to be able to handle that. So that's why it's like, I don't think you can rule either of them out, but Texas does feel like they're in the zone right now.
Going back to your point, Eric, the running game with Texas, how do they handle that versus Kinsey Hansen? Florida had some chances where I thought, and I heard on the ESPN broadcast on the Monday game, where they try to run on Kinsey Hansen. Coach Tim Walton elected not to do that. Does Mike White put the pressure on Hansen early if they get a couple runners on? Do they try and force the issue? And force Hansen to throw them out, trying to steal second, trying to steal third on a play on a little squeeze play. I'm being fascinated to see how that goes. And my other thing, the emotion of the Red River rivalry, playing Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, all that stuff. Texas has to play softball, as Jen alluded to. If you guys focus on playing softball, sticking to your game plan, playing to your ability, and not focusing on the external factors, which will be a lot of them tomorrow night, then Texas has a chance. But I said this before. I'm going to repeat myself, especially today. Beating Oklahoma in Austin in April is one thing. Beating Oklahoma in Oklahoma City with all the chips on the line is something completely different, especially after today.
Are you admitting there's a home field advantage?
I did not say that.
I mean,
Don't put words in my mouth, Mr. Lopez.
Last I checked, Jenna's our zip code expert. Oklahoma City's zip code's pretty close to Norman.
We are aware of that.
It is true.
I'm just stating on.
I'll be honest with you. If this series is played anywhere else, I'm picking Texas. I think Texas has been the best team all year. But Sooner Magic does, as Coach Pinkerton brought up, does tend to happen in Oklahoma City. And it's going to be pretty dramatic.
Strike zone will magically disappear like it did the 2 games for OU and Florida on both sides.
I mean, that's a whole. We don't have time for that. Let's save that for the podcast. Jenna has dinner plans. We gotta go.
I have been sitting near where they're kind of tracking with the data, like each pitch in the press box, and that has been interesting. Like seeing someone hit something really hard. I'm like, where was that? A lot of them dead red, right? But that's exactly what this level of talent is going to do when you throw that over the plate. Sometimes they're such good hitters that it's not. It's a good pitch, and they just are that good at hitting. But it has been interesting to kind of see that piece of it too, like while the games are going on.
That's true. All right. So we're going to have coverage. D1 softball. Jenna's not done. She's going to be there. Paige. Shout out to Brenna, my good friend, who's having a time of her life.
Writing.
Behind the scenes. I mean, now she's becoming a TV star, which I'm proud of her. I'm not going to get emotional if I talk more about her. They're good friends.
She's just so everyone knows too, videographer and photographer that we have here on site with D1 Softball. She was with us at Clearwater as well earlier this year. And she was so excited just to meet everyone here. She gave Patty Gasso a hug after they won today on the field, by the way.
Well, they are buddies. They met in Orlando. I take responsibility for that. I introduced them. Yeah.
She's thriving. It's great.
what do we do?
She's in her era, Eric, as they like to say.
Yeah.
Well, clearly we can confirm Coach Gasso likes her better than me, which rightfully so. She should on that. But no, that's awesome. And we'll look forward to continuing the coverage there. Me and Vic will have post-game shows, post-game. Jenna might join in, Jonas, from time to time on those live. You're invited as well.
So he's putting pressure on me doing this live, saying this. Now I have to. No.
That's Eric's not so subtle way of saying you need to be on the live show.
You're doing it.
You remember you made your debut with us.
I did.
Post-game show. Granted, it was an afternoon game 3, but whatever.
Well, we all know the circumstances behind that one, which we will not talk about right now.
Yeah, don't worry about it. But all right, that's going to be a lot of fun. Look for that in the Circle Live after the post-game shows. Keep it on D1 Softball on the site for all the coverage, Oklahoma, Texas. Also, other softball news. We haven't mentioned that guy, but Justin McLeod, he's working on the other news that's going on. There's other news going on in softball, apparently. Coaching hires, etc. We'll let him deal with that. I'm not going to talk about that until the pod.
We do have a transfer tracker as well with D1 Softball, coaching carousel. And yes, Justin is working on all of those things. Amanda and I will also be getting back together next week after the World Series wraps for D1 Softball podcast. So we will be just reliving everything from the World Series, maybe even a little bit from the season. Both of us having our alma maters here, and Paige, who's with me as well, all having our alma maters here. The stress and anxiety has been high. But we all love it at the same time. So
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
it's a good problem.
Yep, exactly.
Just better than like a month or 2 months from now, where we're just sitting at home wondering when can the season get here already.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll blink and it'll be 2025, the start of that season, with lots of new stuff going on. But we're excited to be in Oklahoma City for a little bit longer and to be all eyes on Oklahoma City, even if you're not here in person. Thanks everybody for joining us. Again, in the circle after dark, it gets nutty over there. So if you're in the mood, join after the games.
Caffeine required.
Take it easy, everybody.